Huge news breaks over the weekend. David Stone, yes, official visit coming up this weekend. Who else is visiting? We talk with the one, the only Locked On recruiting expert, Brian Smith. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, happy belated Father's Day, happy Juneteenth, happy Monday, happy June. I mean, just happy days are Indy Slants, and we got some big news ahead, but before we get to that, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Now, hey, this is going to be a familiar voice and a familiar face. Do I have this man chained to a desk at my beck and call whenever I need some Michigan State recruiting insight? I'm not going to answer that question, but I will ask how Brian Smith is doing. How you doing, Brian? We doing okay ever since we talked to you all 3 days ago?
I'm doing pretty well. Everything seems to be pretty normal. Really curious to see what happens with Michigan State in the next 10 days. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, quiet weekend on the official visit front. They had one kid, 3-star tight end Decker DeGraff, and I'm sorry to the DeGraff family. Not really going to talk about that. What moved the needle this weekend, though, was David Stone on Father's Day tweeting out that, hey, I'm locking in my last official visit of the month to Michigan State. We all know this kid. He's done unofficial visits. He's in the top 10 of every single recruiting service. How big is this massive for Michigan State? Or as a well-seasoned recruiting guy, are you like, it doesn't really matter until the dotted line is signed on letter of intent day? I mean, how big is this for MSU?
It is a very important factor. There's an old saying, you can't win the race if you don't get in the race. You don't get an official visit, you are not in the race. So, David, I don't know how many times he's been there, 3 times or something like that.
I think so, yeah.
He's always talked to me about Michigan State being one of his favorite staffs. It's his last visit of the month. I would imagine, based on my conversations with him up until this point, that they're going to be in it. But this is their chance to solidify because he's visited Miami, he's visited Oklahoma, he's visited Florida, 3 of the other teams that are really in the race. If Michigan State wants to go into the fall with a chance, you want to bring him back for an unofficial, whatever weekend, maybe the Nebraska game or whatever. If you can do that, then you're really in it. But you had no chance without this official visit. So, yes, it's huge news. The other thing I want to learn, and this we won't be able to find this out till next week at the earliest, what gave him the thought that this could be the place for me? Was there anything game-changing about the people, about the atmosphere? It's different when you come to a campus for an official because they can spend the money, your hotel and all that stuff. It's not the same as an unofficial visit. So I think this is a very important one and one that may kind of unlock the key to finding out if they really have a shot.
I mean, I just think it's fascinating that in the offseason, Brandon Jordan left for the NFL. Like, he unlocked the door for so many recruits to come to Michigan State just to visit. Marco Coleman, he also left as well. And I kind of thought that was it for Stone, Zadavian Sims, like all these great defensive line recruits. But no, like, he's still going to be visiting on an official. So that's like my big way from it. And I just want to put a bow on this for now. Obviously, we're going to be talking about David Stone every month, every week probably until signing day. But I got a really dumb question for you, Brian. You ready for this one?
Fire away.
Why is David Stone a 5-star? Like, what makes him this top 10 player in the country? I mean, is it just as simple as he's good at everything? Or what do you see in him when you watch him in person?
I've seen him probably 4 times, something like that. I live pretty close to IMG, so it's convenient. I'll put it to you like this. At the IMG Pro Day, when they do those Under Armour camps, they have one specifically for IMG, okay? And I was standing down at the end of the ramp or the field when they did the 40, and each kid I'm just filming. And I'm like, oh, that's David Stone. And I just watched running backs, okay? And I watched him run, and I go, that really is David Stone. And it's like he was running like a running back, but he's 280-something. He's different because his flexibility and his explosiveness off the snap. And he takes it serious. Like, he gets pissed if he doesn't get a time that he wants or whatever. Like, he went twice, and he went all out each time. He's a competitive kid. And then, again, when you're that size and you move like that, they're going to find a place for you. Okay, they're going to find a place for you. He likes playing interior D-line, and he's taken to the coaching and knows his craft, different moves, one-arm stab, two-hand swipe, whatever it is. But you could throw him on the edge. And he told me a month and a half or so ago at an event, he was like 290. He kind of fluctuates in there. And I'm like, dude, you don't look fat at all. Like, he's chiseled.
Yeah.
He has a natural frame that you cannot teach. When you can move a guy around, he has that technique, that motor, and that first step. There just aren't guys that size that fit that profile. To me, it's not even close. He is the best interior pass rusher in the country. And he's also a kid that he ain't going to sit the bench. It doesn't matter if he goes to Florida, Oklahoma, Michigan. It doesn't matter. He's going to be in the rotation immediately wherever he goes at a critical spot too. Because when you get interior pass rushers, it changes the game.
That took the next question right out of my mouth, which may have been an even dumber question than the one before. But like, he's a day one starter, right? Even as a true freshman, even if he does go to like, just like you said, a Florida or a Georgia or Alabama, like he's a day one starter anywhere he goes. You think?
I wouldn't say Alabama or Georgia just because they got a pecking order there. That's a little different.
Sure.
That's 3 tech in a 4-3. Let me be very clear. Those two schools run 3-4 defenses. That's two gapping. And that's why he's not going to go to one of those two. He doesn't want to play in that scheme. But in a one gap, get up the field. I'm going to kill the ball, see the ball, kill the ball. That's pretty much what they're – then, yeah. Florida runs that. Miami runs – anytime that you run a one gap scheme, he can fit it. Man, there aren't many guards they're going to stay in front of. He would have a chance to start at any of those schools by the end of his freshman year. Yeah.
Sure. Hey, there we go. Okay, well, that covers the David Stone base for now. Again, we're only at like chapter 7 out of 40 of asking you about David Stone. I mean, every time you're on, we ask about him. It is what we do on Locked On Spartans. But there are some other big names coming up this weekend. This will all be finalized as we go throughout the week. We'll do another quick recap later on in the week. But we also got DeAndre Carter, top 100 interior offensive lineman. Jason Brown, top 100 running back. Nick Marsh, fringe, top 100 wide receiver. And then 3 stars, Justin Denson, cornerback. Mercer Lanuski, offensive tackle. Jason Cross, who's a safety. And then Charlton Lanuski as well. Any of those names just rattle off like kind of diamond in the rough kids, or what do you? Okay, not about the top 100 kids, obviously. The 3 stars though, like any of the 3-star kids that kind of arch an eyebrow for you?
I do. Like Jason Brown is a kid that people need to know more about. It's not that he's a 3-star, but he's from Seattle. We'll talk about it in a second. Nick Marsh, not by everybody's standards, is a 4-star, which is dumb. That's their own problem. The kid that's intriguing to me though is Justin Denson.
Okay.
And it's because of where he's from. I mean, look, not everybody's going to be born and play in Texas, or California, or Florida, or whatever. But he's from frickin' Rhode Island. I've never heard of a scout in Rhode Island. So for him to be ranked even a 3-star is important. But I've seen his film. When you look at the kid, you're like, well, how would he do if he played in Houston? How would he do in New Orleans? How would he do in Atlanta, Detroit, something like that? And this is a kid I think that could. You'll never know, and that's why recruiting's fascinating. But he has a chance to play at any school in the country physically. Long corners are never out of stock. 6'2", 175, 180 pounds. That's the kid I'm most interested in, and he's gotten some really big offers. I'm curious what Michigan State can do with him because I don't care about his ranking.
Sure.
He's in Rhode Island. Nobody's scouting Rhode Island. They're never scouting Rhode Island. They're not. Yeah. Good for Michigan State for doing their own homework. First off, that's the kid I want to learn about after he gets to East Lansing.
And like I'm taking something from our last conversation we had right before the weekend about Cameron Campbell. This guy in Florida, which is a football-rich state, but it's still hard for scouts to get to. Not a lot of scouts get there. Like if a city in Florida is hard to get to for some scouts, Rhode freaking Island is going to be very difficult to get on there. So yeah, a lot of parallels just between the two right there. Same position as well, but yeah, couldn't help to think about that. It's like, wow, Rhode Island, good for you. 6 people have seen you play. That's fascinating. So good luck to you, young man. Hopefully you come to Michigan State. But we're going to get more into the mix here. We got to talk Scoota, Carey, because you have some knowledge to drop on us, or so I've been told. But first, we need to talk everyone's ear off about FanDuel Sportsbook. Gang. Over the weekend, the U.S. Open, I had Ricky Fowler top 5 finish. It was great. It worked out for me, and I placed that bet at FanDuel. Now, I also made a mistake. I had Ricky Fowler to win on Saturday night. FanDuel offered me $54 on my $5 bet to cash out. And we did not take that. We let it ride. But hey, FanDuel they were offering to put money in my account. And I still said, no, thanks. That's all right. But hey, that's one of the many reasons that makes FanDuel great. The cash out options, the creative bets they offer, and for all sports across the land. And hey, if you're a new customer, it all gets sweeter because you get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's right. I said it. $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and join today. Do not miss your chance to snag this no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. It's FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. And let's get our guy, Brian Smith, back into the mix here. He goes by Scoota. We're talking about the 4-star running back, Anthony Carey, down in your state, down in Florida. Now, he came out of a North Carolina official visit this weekend and told publications that he is down to Michigan State or North Carolina. So it is a 2-horse race. Do you see Michigan State winning this one, or what have you got for us on Scoota Carey here?
A little of both in terms of like which way you could go.
Okay.
I've talked to him when he had North Carolina gloves on before. I've talked to him when he had a million. He's one of those kids that even his own teammates for months, and I used to go to by his high school all the time because it's like 15 minutes where I lived. He isn't going to give out a lot, but I asked him the other day, and he told me his decision would be soon, which surprised me because I thought he was going way down the road. So I think he's kind of tired of the process. It's, the phone calls and everything. But North Carolina and Michigan State were the two I thought it was going to come down to, and it is. I have no idea which one it's going to be if you want that prediction. Gotcha. He didn't exactly offer that to me either. So most kids want to do their own announcements. It is what it is. I have not talked to him specifically about UNC since he took the visit. I'm curious, though, because that program already has one Florida kid committed, Davion Gauze, out of Shawnee Madonna. Maybe they get a second, maybe they don't. But Michigan State's been the team that's had the most smoke with it.
Yeah.
So I hope to hear something in the next week about when his announcement date is.
And really quick, too, another piece of recruiting news. I didn't put this on our sheet, so I'm just going to add this. Nathan Roy, top 200 offensive line recruit. He commits to Minnesota, which I got to imagine is one of the highest rated recruits in Minnesota program history. So good for them. Row the boat, PJ Fleck over there. But yeah, that hurts. But hey, DeAndre Carter, interior offensive lineman, is coming in this weekend. So that's some good news for Michigan State on the offensive line front. But is that Is that devastating to miss out on Nathan Roy? Obviously, it's not great to miss out on a top 200 player, but it seems like Michigan State offensive line recruiting has been healthy the last year or two. I mean, fair statement, you think?
I think Michigan State is okay at offensive line, and that's a spot the Midwest always has linemen. Now, this kid from Wisconsin that didn't have a Wisconsin team in his final 3 following his recruitment was
fascinating.
Right? They got hammered in state recruiting. Their offensive line coach couldn't recruit himself out of a wet paper sack. But it's just true. I mean, he's terrible. He's a terrible guy. And it's just true, man. That's tough. When you've got really good players at offensive line in the state of Wisconsin, how hard is it? They're open. Come on, bro. But anyway, that hurts, but that's not a spot I'm worried about. I'm worried about corner. I'm worried about receiver. I'm worried about safety. I'm worried about D-line. I'm worried about the spots that are harder to recruit. There's not as many kids in the state of Michigan as a general rule. And right now, they got the kid from Florida we talked about. They got Cam. Yep. He's a kid that can come in and play right away. They've got a few kids. Mr. Rhode Island. Don't count out Rhode Island. Don't you do it. Don't you do it, man.
No, powerhouse. Sleeping giant. That's right.
That's right. But, I mean, he's got some SEC, ACC offers, et cetera. He's a good player. They've done their due diligence. Andre Carter is the kid I'm interested in, though. His visit list is bizarre. Texas, Michigan State, Auburn. For an LA kid. I mean,
sure.
It completely makes sense, right? I mean, that's what you thought. You know what I mean? Michigan State, Auburn, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Wow.
But he's a kid who plays in modern day. It's one of the most tradition-rich programs in all of high school football. They're always in contention for a national top 5 finish. He's going to come in schooled wherever he goes. He's visiting state coming up. That's important. If you're going to make a splash he could start at Michigan State. You know what I mean? Not many freshman offensive linemen. It's usually not good, but he has the physical tools to at least do it. If he's in that conversation and he's pushing your depth chart, that's good. Really important. They get somebody that's a splash guy. on the offensive line. That's how I would look at it. And if he's visiting, hey, like David Stone, you got a shot. That's all you can ask for. So let's see how it goes with Carter. He's a big-time player.
Literally and figuratively, I'm looking at his metrics right now. 6'4", 340. Yeah, that's going to play early on in a career, especially up here at Michigan State. That'd be nice. Brian, before we let you go and enjoy shows that just aren't Locked On Spartans here, because we've been beating the brakes off you here in the last few days, got a loaded question for you on your way out the door. Let's call it mid-July, because Nick Marsh, I believe, commits July 9th, I want to say. It's a date in early July. When let's call it July 10th rolls around, what would define success for Michigan State? Is it going to be a number of commits they have? Because right now they're sitting at 5. Would it be like get 2 4-star? Like, what would make a Michigan State fan smile, in your opinion, on July 10th, for example, once this official visit season is all said and done and we're looking at fall next on the roadmap?
I actually have good news there, because there's multiple positive answers here. Number one, they should get at least 1 or 2 more commitments just by default, right?
Sure.
I mean, the volume, if they don't, we might need to light a few candles. You know what I mean? Like, if you're at 5 at July 10th, you and I are going to have a really nasty podcast.
It's not going to be good.
It will not be friendly. It will not be friendly. That's number one. Number two, I'm just going to throw this in as a bonus, and I told you this before the show. I give credit to Jim Harbaugh for what he's done at Michigan. He's done a really good job.
Sure.
But for all their success on the field, and they're having a pretty good class. They've missed out on quite a few kids, and they're not trending in the right direction. Michigan State fans are just going to enjoy that. By the way, Aaron Childs, everybody had him going to Michigan. He committed to Florida this weekend. Enjoy that. So he's a big-time player. UF stole him out of Michigan's grasp. There's a little extra for you. And then finally, again, where do they sit with Stone, Andre Carter, Anthony Scoota, Carey?
Yep.
We need to find out on a couple of these kids with visits. And then, even though I know Carey, I don't even know where he's going. He's a kid that keeps it pretty close to that. They need to hit on somebody big in some capacity. That would, to me, like say, hey, we're trending in the right direction. It's not just we've got a few 3-star recruits and some linemen that you'd never heard of. They need a name recruit to commit in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which quite frankly wouldn't be all that surprising. So which kid's it going to be? That's why it's recruiting. That's why I follow it every day. I have no freaking idea. So let's just wait and see.
Let's just make it all those kids that we just named, all the 4 stars and 5 stars. Why not? Let's just get nuts. Let's make this July a movie here in East Lansing. But Brian, hey, thank you so much for dropping by again, man. I mean, I didn't think there'd be much to talk about in 3 days that passed, but yeah, when David Stone locks something in, Scoota, Carey announces his final 2 schools, and just this big weekend coming up for Michigan State, had to drag the best back on here, and that is you, the recruiting expert of Locked On. Thank you so much, Brian. Really appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Another huge thanks to our guy, Brian Smith, and also thank you to all the Locked On listeners and viewers, not just for, tuning in every single day, but we like to do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sorry, this is getting you to you a little late on Monday. My beautiful son gave me a cold for Father's Day. I tried to record yesterday, and I couldn't make it 5 minutes without my voice absolutely leaving my soul. So thank you for being a little patient on this episode. All right, we're going to put a bow in this episode with 2 pieces of news. The first one, hey, if you thought we were done talking recruiting, we are not, because out of California, Drew Wilson, that's right, Long Beach City College lawn snapper, he commits to Michigan State. That's right. We do it all here in Locked On Spartans. We talk recruiting at every position, and that includes lawn snapper. He's coming here as a walk-on after a nice junior college career over in California. 6'3", 220 pounds. And look, maybe I wouldn't even bring this up if we all didn't just learn last year how important the lawn snapper position is. Once Hank Pepper was out for the rest of the season after the first 5 games with an injury, kind of saw throughout the rest of the year how important that lawn snapping position is, namely at the Michigan game. The best catches made by Spartans, or by either team in that game, were by Bryce Behringer. Any good lawn snapper news is good news here in East Lansing. The other tidbit that we saw, this was before the weekend rolled around, but something I wanted to circle back to here. 24/7 Sports, they named their Defensive Player of the Year candidates for the Big Ten Conference. They had Jerzon Newton, great defensive lineman out of Illinois. He is a first round mock grade in many mock NFL drafts. We also got Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, cornerback out of Iowa. Junior Colson, linebacker out of Michigan. And then Tommy Eichenberg, linebacker out of Ohio State. But wait, there's one more on the top 5 favorites to be Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten, and it is your linebacker. Guess what linebacker? Guess. Cal Haladay. It is Cal Haladay makes the short list on 24/7 Sports, and that got me thinking, could that be possible? Like, is that right? Look, I mean, Cal Haladay, fine player, and maybe after all, this could be the case because, hey, last year, Jack Campbell, he was the Defensive Player of the Year. He was the only guy that beat Cal Haladay in total tackles. So when all the voting goes in, you know, I know there's not a ton of Big Ten teams. There's only 14 to keep track of, but does every media member and every coach watch every single game? Maybe not. They just go to the stats. Bada boom, bada bing. Hey, was this guy a leader in tackles for loss like Aiden Hutchinson was a few years ago? Or is he a leader for sacks? Or hey, is he just a leader in tackles? Cal Haladay could very well be on his way to another year with more than 100 tackles racked up. So just from a number standpoint, yes, but also just from a solid level of play standpoint too. One of the best run-stopping linebackers in the Big Ten. You guys already know this. Whenever there's a run play, you could probably count on Cal Haladay's hat being at that ball. Of course, a lot of competition too because there are other first-round graded picks in the Big Ten. JT Tuimoloau out of Ohio State. Michael Hall out of Ohio State. Chop Robinson, I'm not going to screw that name up, out of Penn State. And then Denzel Burke are all mocked in the first round. No Spartan has won Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten since 2009. That would be who? Greg Jones doing that. That's right. Kind of like Cal Haladay, just a master in stopping the run with tackles. Yes, a little on the undersized portion of the roster, but I mean, hey, just like any good cliche, what he lacks in size, he makes up with in heart and toughness. So could it be another 2009 Greg Jones year for Cal Haladay? It very well could be, but I gotta say, and look, love Cal Haladay. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from Cal Haladay right now. I was surprised though that Jacoby Windman wasn't named on here as, you know, a top 5 guy to win Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, if you're going to take a guy from Michigan State, I would go with Jacoby Windman. And Pro Football Focus just named Jacoby Windman the 6th best edge rusher returning to the Big Ten next year, which is awesome. All right, top 10 guy at edge rusher, except one problem. And it's a good problem for Michigan State. He doesn't even play that position. He's not going to be playing the edge like he was in the first half of last year going into next year. He's going back to that linebacker position that he did play at UNLV before he transferred to Michigan State, and this the position that he ended last season on. We know how athletically gifted Jacoby Windman is. God, it's going to be a great 2-horse race between Cal Haladay and Jacoby Windman to see who racks up more tackles and has a bigger impact on the game. If Jacoby Windman can once again have a season where he's, how many fumbles did he force last year? Like 5-6 forced fumbles last year. I mean, led the nation in that metric. I mean, yeah, he is a game wrecker, and somehow, some way, despite winning Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week 3 times, I believe it was last year, I still think he's flying under the radar going into this season. Like, yes, he did miss the last 4 games due to suspension last year. He didn't get shipped off to the Galapagos to go live over there for the rest of his life. I feel like he's oddly forgotten about. And please let me know if I'm just in my own little vacuum right here, if I'm going crazy, because, yeah, I just feel like when outsiders, of course, like Michigan State fans, you know, I think we don't forget who Jacoby Windman is, but like when other people talk about MSU's defense, I feel like Jacoby Windman is almost never brought up, and that's odd. So 24/7 Sports didn't post anything, at least that I saw, for Offensive Player of the Year candidates in the Big Ten. And to put it bluntly, I don't think Michigan State would have had any of the 5 guys that 24/7 Sports would have named on there per se. There are a lot of question marks on this offense. Now, one player that I could see, you know, popping up, maybe a late run in the season, late run, no pun intended, Nathan Carter, from, again, you guys have heard me say this, from everything that we've heard out of the football building. He is him as the kids call it. He's a powerful running back, absolutely chiseled. He has negative body fat on his body, great at absorbing contact, but also breaking through it, catches the ball out of the backfield. It's going to be a stark difference from last year's run game to next year's run game. So, yeah, maybe Nathan Carter gets some votes late in the season for Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. But, again, that's also an award that's typically just designated for whoever the Ohio State quarterback is or the Penn State running back. I mean, they've been kind of sharing that award amongst those two programs for, the last handful of years now. So there you have it. Just wanted to riff about Cal Haladay, Jacoby Witten for a little bit. If you guys think that there's another player that I'm missing for Defensive Player of the Year honors from our Spartans, like Simeon Barrow, of course, he is a game destroyer. He is going to be one of the best, if not the best player on Michigan State's defense, but it's just very hard for an interior lineman to win an award like this. I mean, they usually don't have the flashiest stats or everything. They're, absorbing 2 blocks at a time or, getting the offensive line off time for their zone run or what have you. Nothing that really goes in a box score. So, again, it's those odd circumstances that, the best guy on the defense might not even win the award. But, hey, if anyone else sticks out to you, if you're feeling that Darius Snow is going to have a big comeback, comment below or reach out to us, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. If you ever have any questions, gang, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. You guys are all the best. Now go enjoy the rest of your day. Love you all. Go green.